What's up everybody, Ramey here, and today we're talking about the angles and weights, of lever arms. What happens during this arc to the weight as you move a lever arm. Now obviously there's some math that goes into this that tells you what the weight should be. I'll put that math up on the screen right now so that you can kind of see what the weight is supposed to be. However, what happens when we add things like bands to lever arms? What happens when we put the weight in different places? Does that math still tell us the entire truth about what's going to happen to the arm? This is something that I see people talk about in different spaces online about lever arms. Personally, I don't use lever arms. I have them, but I'm not a big fan of them for various reasons. I actually think that now the things like the VTS are out, I feel like they kind of do everything I wanted lever arms to do, and they actually work. Lever arms are a big pain to set up. But today we're not talking about that. We are talking about the different angles of lever arms and the actual weight that they are. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to put a weight plate on my arms. I'm just going to put it at the very bottom so we can kind of see what happens. I've got a luggage scale, so we're going to take a look at the weights. I've got this to measure the angle so that we can see. So right now, 45 degrees is literally right in the middle, right here. 45 degrees. Just kind of keep that little check in your head. That's about 45 degrees, and obviously 90 degrees is right here. So according to the math, at 45 degrees, right here, this should be about 70% of the max weight. At 90 degrees, it should be 100%, and down here should be 0 degrees. Now, if you're talking about like doing an exercise, that's a pretty big difference, right? Like 0 to 100% of the weight. So like if it's 50 pounds, we're starting off at 0 pounds and then getting up to 50 only when we're at the top. That's a lot. So let's take a look at what the luggage scale says. So right now we have 10 pounds on, the arms themselves weigh about 10 pounds. Okay, so to start this movement, we're at about like 0 to 1 pound to even start this movement. At about the 45, and I'm just eyeballing 45, we're at about 15 to 17. At the top, we're at 20. So the difference in this, to start this movement off, we were at like about 1 pound to start this movement. Right here, 5 pounds, 10, 15, 20. So it wasn't until the end of the movement that we got to 20 pounds. That's a pretty big difference. Okay, so pretty much 0 to about 20 pounds. All right, what happens if we add a band to this equation? What happens if I add a band? Does it stay the same? So I've got a small band here. This is a red band, which means that it's like the light one. Let me zero my scale. Now let's see what happens to the weight. Does the band help at all lower that equation of how much it moves? So this went from about 1 to 2 pounds to start to about 20 pounds. So that's about 10 times difference from start to finish. All right, let's see if this, of course I dropped my little scale. Let's even it out. All right, so this is with a band. All right, so we're starting at about 9 to 10 pounds. I'm at 29, 30. Let's do that again, just a test. Okay, so we're at about 9 pounds, 18, 25, 32, 30, 30, 32. Okay, so it looks like it went from about 9 to 10 pounds to about 30, 32 pounds, which is just under 3 times difference. So that's a pretty significant difference from no weight. Remember, with no band here, and obviously bands get stronger as we stretch them. So technically this band was getting stronger as we stretched it. So what that means is that without the band, with just the weight, we went from literally like 0, 1, 2 pounds to about 20. So that's 10 times. With the band, we went from like 10 pounds to like 30 pounds. So the difference was much less when we added the band in. All right. What happens if we add put the weight like out front? Like some people would like to put the weight out front and they wonder like, should the weight be up high or low? And out in front of the lever arm, does that make a difference? So let's do that. What I've actually done is I have set up my, let's put that more down. There we go. I set up my spotter arms so that the weight is in front of my safety spotter arms. So let's do a test with that. Let's put some weight on the spotter arms and let's see what they have to say. Let's see if the spotter arms make any kind of a difference here. Okay, so we're putting that same 10 pounds on, but obviously the spotter arms make a difference. All right, so to start, we're at about 10, 20, 34, 35, 36. Oh, I can't even get up this high. We're up at about 45. Let's do that again, just to test. Okay, so to start, 10, 29, I can't really see what the spotter arm is saying, 40. All right, so definitely not as good as the band. It looks like when I got to, I wasn't even at 90 degrees there, it was like 40 pounds already. So we were at a minimum of 4 times. Remember the bands were like 3 times difference. So this down here below, having the weight below like this, was not as good as the bands, but it was way better than just the weight itself. Let's actually put this weight up top to see what happens when I put the weight much higher on the lever arm, just for fun. We're not going to put any weight on because I can't even, I'm going to actually stand up here next to this so that I can see it a little better while it's high up. Okay, so to start, nothing. Hold on a second. That's all right. There we go. 9, 20, 30 already, and that was only like about 30, 35 degrees. Okay, so now one final thing I want to try is what happens when we attach this to a cable. Does it make a difference? Is it better than the weight, the bands, or anything like that? So let me attach this to a cable. I'm attaching this just to my rack. I've got 10 pounds on. Let's see what happens. Okay, we're starting off 20, 24, 25, 22, 20, 20, 22, 22. Let's do it again. Start pull, 22, 25, 25, 23, 23, 20. Very stable. Pull this off. Let's talk about what we found here. All right, so that is testing weight, bands, cable, and having the weight out front. So in order of effectiveness, it looks like the cable was 100% tried and true. All right, so it looks like we've tested several different things here, several different places we could put the weight in regards to the lever arms. Let's talk about what we found. So overall, what we found is that the cable 100% basically stays pretty even. Keeps it pretty smooth. This was a cable just connected to my low row. So for those of you with like an Aries or something like that, you're gonna have a great experience with the resistance on the lever arms. The next best thing appears to be the bands. The bands were actually pretty good, only a 3 times difference. That's still a big deal, but that's more like training with like chains or like even doing like Yeah, train them with like chains or bands, because they are bands. So that's really wasn't terrible with the bands. With the weight out front, it was okay, a little worse than the bands. So, and the weight up out front, actually lower, was better. So it's worse than the bands, not as good, but definitely much better than just standard weight. And then the just weight on the machine itself was just pretty terrible. A 10 times difference, as we would expect. Just not good at all. And overall, based on the math and just doing this kind of thing, if you are going to use lever arms, keeping them from that 45 degrees to 45 degrees, like in this range of motion, is way better than keeping them down here. Because down here, there is zero resistance. Up here, we have near from 70 to 100% from right here. But adding those bands or adding the cables really does make a big difference. Now, having said that, looking at this video, when I go out and buy lever arms, I would never recommend someone go out and buy these, only because they are such a pain to set up. They take a lot of space, and they're really not that great. I think there's a lot more effective things out there that do the same thing we want lever arms to do, but do it much better. As I said, like the VTS being one of them. All right, everybody, that's the strength resistance curve of lever arms. Later.